our laws is not a problem. It's the exercise of the rule of law. And the exercise of rule of law is supposed to prohibit the arbitrary use of power.
James Mattis, our Secretary of Defense, was down on our southern border yesterday.
There's all sorts of stuff in the news. Just concentrate on what your company commander, your battalion commander tells you. You read all that stuff, you'll go nuts.
Real drama is with Democrats, as more than a dozen are now speaking out to stop Nancy Pelosi from becoming Speaker.
Nancy Pelosi rules with an iron fist. She and Steny Hoyer, they despise each other. They hate each other. She's not willing to step aside and let him step up.
And President Trump threw his support behind a compromise bill to reform how criminals are penalized.
These members have reached a bipartisan agreement. Did I hear the word bipartisan?
Yeah, Brian and I do this.
Right. When don't we have a dance party? It's the perfect way to wind down.
Listen, it's going to be kind of a stormy day here in New York City today. Janice Dean said there's a nor'easter headed our way, so it's a good day to sit back, relax, and enjoy the news.
Eat some soup and watch us.
Wait, okay, good. So soup and cable.
Right.
That's right.
And let me just urge you to please get dressed. We've been up for at least an hour. Let me tell you what's straight ahead. Deadline day in Florida. Counties are just hours away from finishing their recounts, as the heated battle over the U.S. Senate seat in Florida is stirring even more controversy. And if it wasn't, why would we put it in bold in the prompter?
Well, there's some counties that are still scrambling, Brian, as others appear to be making progress, Steve.
Griff Jenkins is in the thick of it. He's down in Broward County, where they have had some problems. But, Griff, right now the machines are turned off. Are they done?
They're almost done. They're so close, guys. Look at this video from shortly after midnight. The staffers here celebrating that they've done all but 80 or so damaged duplicate ballots left. They've got to approve them, and they'll run those this morning. They're pretty much done, and they're preparing for an anticipated hand recount that'll start on Friday morning. But up in Palm Beach County, not likely going to make it. The election supervisor there, Susan Booker, in prayer mode for that to happen. But recounts, guys, aren't the only thing we're watching. We're also watching a half a dozen lawsuits or more. One that might give Palm Beach an extension in that Senate race, and another, a judge siding with Bill Nelson attorneys, ruling that as many as 4,000 voters who had ballots rejected because of signature discrepancies will have until Saturday now to fix it and could be potentially counted. We expect Governor Scott certainly to appeal that. Many of these lawsuits playing out in Tallahassee today as they try and get that count done here in Broward and up in Palm Beach, guys.
That's right. All right, Griff, thank you very much.
3 o'clock today.
So the mismatch signature thing, it's uncertain how big that could be, because apparently it impacts 4,000 ballots in 45 counties.
That means when you register to vote, you sign a form, and then when you actually vote, you sign your ballot, and they were comparing the signatures.
Right, exactly. When you went to vote, they said, we got to see something that has your signature on it to make sure. So it could impact 4,000 ballots in 45 counties, but there are 22 other counties that it's uncertain. So it could be thousands we're talking about.
And you see what's happening in Georgia, too, with the governor's race? Hillary Clinton goes down and says, well, if there wasn't such corruption, Stacey Abrams would have won the election. Really? Is that a responsible thing to say? People are on the president because he's pointing out what's happening in Broward County, how they miss all these deadlines, and what Steve just brought up about the problem with the signatures and using provisional ballots as actual ballots. That's legitimate. That's a legitimate question.
It's all about sound bites.
Yeah, just to throw out, oh, by the way, it's an illegitimate win for Brian Kemp is irresponsible. Howard Dean did it last week. Hillary Clinton does it this week.
Brian Kemp says Stacey Abrams doesn't even have enough votes mathematically to win, but she's refusing to concede.
She wants to get to the 50% to have another runoff. She's not going to get there.
All right. During the campaign, one of the big issues was the caravan. Well, the caravan, parts of it have arrived in Tijuana, south of San Diego. Right now, apparently 800 migrants are there, and they're expecting thousands in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, in Texas, our Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, was there. He addressed some of the troops who are helping the Border Patrol, and he said this about what they're seeing in the news as he walked alongside Secretary of Homeland Security Nielsen. They stopped for a moment, spoke to the troops. He said this.
There's all sorts of stuff in the news and that sort of thing. You just concentrate on what your company commander, your battalion commander tells you. And when the secretary decided that her Border Patrol needed help, she came to us. Not because of me. Look, I had to rent a suit to come down here. No, because of you. Because what you are every day. In the Army, you don't care if you're male or female. We don't care where you go to church or if you go to church or anything like that. We just care When there's trouble out there, will you keep the faith? Will you ride for the brand? And when trouble looms, you go toward the trouble to help your buddy.
So they sent about 5,500, 5,600 troops down there. They said they're not getting combat pay. They're living in tents. They're eating the MREs. This is what our military does to protect our country. And look at that, the border wall. They put the concertina wire, which is razor wire. It's the large rolls, so it looks like a concertina or accordion.
You know what, Ainsley? You're leaving out the most important thing. According to Jeff Flake, all of that is just a stunt. That reaction, a stunt for the election. Jason Chaffetz was on our couch a half an hour ago, and he disagrees with the soon-to-be former senator of Arizona.
If you go back and look at what General Mattis said, he said, we don't do stunts. And I think he put that to bed and said, no, we just don't do stunts. If you go to the Eloy detention facility, as I have in Arizona, you're going to find that there are people represented from more than 100 countries. We don't know who these people are. We have a surge of people coming north that have said they're going to come into this country potentially illegally. The president has the political guts to do the right thing and match that by making sure that we have the proper resources so we're not overrun at the border.
And the worry is that on the Mexican side, in Tijuana, there are so many migrants heading their way, they don't know how they're going to take care of them. Right now, apparently, starting yesterday, they started to use a sports stadium to house some of them. Half of the shelters are already filled, and they got how many? Thousands still on the way.
But Mexico seems to have changed tactics midstream. 1 minute we're going to stop them at the border. Well, that didn't work out. Next minute, we're going to deny them transportation. Well, we kind of changed our mind a little bit. Now they seem, even though they're still a few hundred miles away, now they don't seem to be intent on blocking them. They're going to be coming right up to our border soon. I actually don't know how Border Patrol and the military, even though we have the people, is going to stop this from being just an overwhelming clash. With violence aside, I hope no violence happens, but all these people are going to need basic needs. What are we going to do?
Well, that's going to be on the Mexican side. Then they will one at a time, and the migrants are actually organizing who's going to apply for asylum. It's going to take a long time. There are already 2,500 people on a waiting list, and that does not include the caravan. They're going to wait their turn. Some will make a claim of asylum, and then it's up to the federal government of the United States to determine whether or not they get in.
All right, so that's down on the border. Let's now go to D.C. because the Democrats just took the House. People are wondering who's going to be the leader. Many people suspect Nancy Pelosi. There's no one that's thrown their hat in the ring yet that wants to run against her for this. But we've just learned the Never Nancy House Democrats, they want new leadership, and they plan to release the signed letter. They've gathered enough support, they say, to deny her being the speaker because she needs 218 votes.
So you might have to wait 2 more weeks to find out who the next speaker is. And you would think if you ask Nancy Pelosi, she's already got the votes, but she doesn't. Among the people on this list that
17 of them.
Yeah,
so far.
17 that stand out are Kathleen Rice, who has made her name for herself in New York, Seth Moulton, a military veteran, and Tim Ryan, who got 60-plus votes, if I'm not right, last time to challenge her from minority leadership.
Yeah, but nobody's going to step up to challenge her before the vote. And we had Jason Chaffetz on about a half an hour ago, and he said if she had the votes right now, they would have had the election yesterday. The Republicans had their elections, and Steve Scalise, Kevin McCarthy, Liz Cheney all won positions on the Republican side. But keep in mind, as he said, Nancy Pelosi has been so effective making money, going out into the districts for the various members, helping them get reelected.
And many of them are making calls on her behalf now.
She feels like they owe her the job because she's wanted it. You know, so many people have said, retire, get out of here. She goes, no, someday I'm going to be speaker. She thinks this is the day. Unfortunately for her, there are these members of Congress on the Democrat side, 22 of them, which could be just enough to keep her from the job.
But I'm wondering how long that she's going to have that money thing in her pocket when you see Mike Bloomberg single-handedly turn so many seats for Democrats. Tom Steyer, personally, along with George Soros, they're putting money directly into districts. I think they're more powerful than Nancy Pelosi. They might be able to get freedom from Nancy shortly if they wanted it.
Didn't work in Texas, though, with Beto O'Rourke. I mean, granted,
But that's just one Senate seat. Look at what they did in Congress. Texas, the Democrats made real inroads in Congress and congressional.
Well, Nancy says she's 100% sure that and confident that she will become the Speaker of the House. But she has a lot of people making calls for her, which makes me wonder, is she really all that confident? She has Andrew Cuomo making calls, John Kerry and Al Gore calling people saying vote for her.
They would have the vote if she had the votes. And right now, too close to call.
That's why they're waiting till November 28th to have that vote.
All right, 7:10 here in New York City. Good morning, Jillian.
Good morning. And, unfortunately, we're still following the devastation out in California. A Fox News alert, at least 59 people confirmed dead in the California wildfires. The Sierra fire scorching nearly 150 acres east of LA. Fire in the north. Just look at that. Everything is just charred. 8,800 homes destroyed in the town of Paradise. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke touring the devastation with Governor Jerry Brown, saying it's the worst he's ever seen. We will have a live report from California in just a few minutes. Also breaking right now, Saudi Arabia recommending the death penalty for 5 suspects charged in the brutal murder of Jamal Khashoggi. The country's top prosecutor says they plan to kill the columnist 3 days before murdering him at the Saudi consulate in Turkey. The prosecutor also claims Khashoggi died from an overdose of a sedative and that his body was chopped up. Now to extreme weather. A powerful nor'easter packed with snow headed towards the northeast. That storm already being blamed for a deadly bus crash in Mississippi. 2 people killed and dozens injured after police say the driver lost control and flipped on an icy highway. 110 million Americans along the East Coast now bracing for the first wintry blast of the season, and Janice Dean continues to track that. History is made. A woman, now the first ever to complete the Army Special Forces 24-day survival skills test. A spokesman says this is just the beginning for her. She's been invited to take a qualification course, the next step toward becoming a Green Beret. The military is not revealing her identity, though, but still, it's pretty awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Jillian.
All right, 12 minutes after the hour. You just heard Defense Secretary Mattis give a pep talk to our troops at the border. Is the show of force the right move for America? Dr. Sebastian Gorka is coming up.
Plus, she was just elected as the newest senator from the state of Arizona, but Kyrsten Sinema is up.
It's when it's raining and you're cold. It's when you're in a position where people are showing a lack of respect for each other elsewhere, and you and your team are holding strong, Nothing can shake you. Nothing can shake you.
There you've got the Secretary of Defense, Jim Mattis, rallying the troops at our southern border in Texas as that caravan of migrants arrives in Mexico, just south of San Diego, scaling fences and taunting authorities, as you can see right there. Here to weigh in, Fox News national security strategist and former deputy assistant to President Donald J. Trump, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, joins us from the Washington area. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Steve.
Well, according to Senator Jeff Flake, sending those troops down to our southern border, that's just a stunt. It was all for the election. It was to bolster the president. What do you think?
Are we talking about Jeff Irrelevant Flake? Why doesn't this guy just, he is more lame duck than the House of Representatives right now. 4-star Marine Corps legends like Secretary Mattis don't do political stunts. And in fact, Secretary Mattis has said so in public. This is something we've done dozens and dozens of times before under previous administrations, including the Obama administration. This is military support to civilian authorities. And when you've got 7,000, 10,000, 12,000 illegal immigrants coming to the border, then our CBP agents, our Customs and Border Patrol, need support.
Right.
And this is a very, very righteous mission.
Down in Washington, the palace intrigue is that John F. Kelly may be gone, the chief of staff. It sounds like the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen, may be gone. And one of the reasons for that is the president is frustrated that more has not been done on our southern border and with immigration and stuff like that. I guess that's just what you get when you have a businessman who's used to getting things done, results-oriented, and it's 2 years in, and, he would like to see more in the win column.
Yeah, I don't have much time for these palace intrigue stories. I think they've been talking about, General Kelly leaving the White House since the day he began. We've constantly had these stories. With regards to cabinet members swapping out or leaving, that's absolutely par for the course 2 years into any administration.
Sure.
But you're absolutely right. Having worked for the man during the campaign and in the White House, Donald Trump is about results, and you will be measured. Whether you are a deputy like I was, an assistant, or a secretary, you will be measured by your results. And one of the important things is immigration reform and building the wall.
Right. There's a story out that apparently the president was talking on the phone a couple of days ago with Prime Minister of Great Britain, Theresa May. She called to congratulate him on the results from the election. And then he said, hey, what's taken so long with Brexit, among other things? And now there's news that apparently her cabinet is going to support her on some sort of breaking exit plan over there.
Yeah, she's in trouble, Steve. The Brits have been waiting 2 years since the referendum for the government of Theresa May to actually get it going. She had this awful thing called the Chequers Plan. That's been redrafted. As a result of the new one, she's had 2 ministers and 2 secretaries resign. She's in trouble because this is not what the British people voted for. So she might have a vote of no confidence in the next few hours.
Her own exit on the Britain exit. All right. Thank you very much, Sebastian Gorka, joining us from a snowy D.C.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, sir. All right. Meanwhile, President Trump backing a bipartisan plan for criminal justice reform.
This bipartisan bill that will make our community safer and give former inmates a second chance at life after they have served their time.
Well, Pastor Darrell Scott was in the room, and he says great things are just around the corner. He's going to join us live. Plus, Democrats just won the House. Nancy Pelosi is giving credit to Reverend Al Sharpton. Michelle Malkin is going to have a lot to say about that. 7:24 here in New York City on November 15th. Here's some headlines. It's day 3 of drug cartel king El Chapo's trial in New York. The cartel member testifying against Joaquin Guzman, detailing how he made massive profits by smuggling tons of coke into the U.S. The jury also getting a video tour, an alleged drug tunnel between Mexico to Arizona. El Chapo has pleaded, as you know, not guilty. And a man faces up to 20 years in prison for attempting to join ISIS and helping a suspected terrorist. Adam Rassani pleading guilty more than a year after he was busted trying to board a plane to Turkey at New York's JFK airport. He was posing as a nurse on a humanitarian mission when he was caught. All right, Brian Ainsley.
All right, President Trump, Steve, making a big push for criminal justice reform, endorsing a First Step Act.
First, it will provide new incentives for low-risk inmates to learn the skills they need to find employment. Second, this legislation will allow federal inmates to be placed closer to their home communities in order to help facilitate family visitation.
It's a bipartisan bill, and it will change the guidelines for prison sentencing. Pastor of New Spirit Revival Center and CEO of the National Diversity Coalition for Trump, Dr. Darrell Scott, joined the president yesterday in support of that bill, and he joins us now. We saw you right behind the president. Tell us about this bill and why you were behind it and why you support it.
Well, first of all, Jared Kushner has been working very, very tirelessly on this bill for over a year. Pastor Paula White rallied the faith community to get behind it. I've been working with them, been in several meetings regarding prison reform, and the president has advocated very strongly in private for prisoners as well. And they're looking at this as a forgotten segment of America, that they are American citizens, and because they have made mistakes and committed crime, it doesn't mean they should have all their rights stripped. And so they're advocating for a reduction in sentences, early release in some cases for nonviolent offenses. That 1994 Clinton crime bill that disproportionately incarcerated African Americans is something that is being overhauled. And the president, they feel very, very strongly about this. Listen, I've known the president for several years, and I remember when I first met him, maybe around 7 to 8 years ago, he and I discussed some of the ills that plague the African American and the urban communities. And he said he believed depressed housing, depressed living conditions, unemployment, underemployment contributed to crime. And so in trying to eliminate or reduce this rate of recidivism, they're trying to create conditions that are conducive for prisoners to return and become functioning members of society.
You mean Donald Trump that was getting awards from Reverend Jackson for what he was doing for urban communities? That Donald Trump?
Thank you.
Here's
Donald Trump.
Right. Tim Scott played a major role, too. Some of the things that are in this bill that's got to get passed in this lame duck session: eliminate the so-called stacking regulation. Judges can reduce mandatory minimums for nonviolent criminals. Change the 3 strikes you're out penalty from life in prison to 25 years. What I thought is striking is Van Jones and others like him saying this: More importantly, dozens of groups representing formerly incarcerated people also support the bill. Ditto many law enforcement groups. People finally coming together to do the right thing. Character test. For us progressives, how many will give Donald Trump any credit? I will. What does that mean, do you think, to the president?
Well, hats off to Van Jones for being man enough and to be a man of conviction enough to speak out, regardless of how popular it may make him appear to whatever his base may be. But he's absolutely right. This is a total bipartisan effort. It's a colorless effort. And notice it. He brought this out. They didn't do this before the midterms as a way to get votes. That shows the sincerity of it right there, the fact that they're bringing it out now and they're pushing it through. And we need everyone to contact you, a senator. Yep. Do what you can to help get this bill push through, because it's very important for America as a whole. Listen, I've got friends and family members who are all impacted by that Clinton crime bill and by the inequities in the criminal justice system. And so this is a way to right the wrongs of prior administrations.
Pastor, 2,700 faith leaders are supporting this. For the folks at home that are watching and they think if you do a crime, you should do the time, why is that a problem?
Well, we don't mind if a punishment fits the crime. What we do mind is when a punishment exceeds the crime. Excessive punishment has been an earmark in our criminal justice system, especially for nonviolent offenses. I know people that are doing hard time for nonviolent offenses that were actually crimes committed against themselves, where they could really use treatment, rehab, counseling, whatever. They don't, going to jail doesn't help the problem. It doesn't solve it at all.
And part of this is, too, transitioning into society when you get back. Because you take a guy or a woman that's been in prison for 20 years, then you put him out in society. What do they know? Except for 20 years of hard time, they'll end up doing the same thing. I have one last question for you. People say let Trump be Trump. But is letting Trump be Trump doing deals like this?
Yes, it is. Listen, he's a president for the people. And, people can say what they want to about him, but he has America at his heart. He has the best interests of America in his heart, of all races of people. He's not color struck. He's actually color blind. And so let him do what he does. Let him make deals. Let him right wrongs. He's a great listener. He has a heart for people. And when causes come before him, listen, when I was in the prison reform meetings over a year ago, and I mean this, nobody advocated more strongly for the prisoners than Donald Trump did. Let him do him.
Darrell Scott, we'll talk to you on radio in a little while. Congratulations.
Thanks, Pastor Scott.
God bless you.
God bless you.
All right, straight ahead. Democrats just won the House. So who was Nancy Pelosi giving the credit to?
Thank you for saving America. Reverend Sharpton, thank you for saving America.
You bet Michelle Malkin has something to say about that. I think she agrees. She's up next. Or maybe she doesn't.
Thank you for helping take back America. People all over the place are calling me, writing on the airports here, there. Thank you for saving America. I give those thanks to you. Thank you for saving America. Reverend Sharpton, thank you for saving America.
Okay. Michelle Malkin is going to want to weigh in on this. She is the host of Michelle Malkin Investigates on CRTV. Michelle, now we know, with the election last week, the Democrats took over the House, and Reverend Al Sharpton helped save America.
Who knew that was a Who knew that the midterms were a referendum on Al Sharpton? I am not shocked, of course, of the diarrhea of the mouth that comes out of Nancy Pelosi, but it tells you something about just how out of touch the leadership of the Democrat Party is when they're still kissing the ring of the godfather of racial hoaxes, someone who has been a racially divisive charlatan, not to mention a financial charlatan, still owing millions of dollars in back taxes, and someone who is such an extreme and marginal figure who has stoked the rhetoric against cops for decades now and has no constituency. What is Nancy Pelosi thinking? I mean, I joke that it's diarrhea of the mouth, but clearly this is calculated. I think that at the same time that she has to allay a revolt that's happening from the progressive flank, that this is what it's really about. It is the worst kind of pandering from Nancy Pelosi.
Well, I'll tell you what she's thinking. She's thinking she's going to be the next speaker. She said she's 100% confident. But then you have this group within the House, the Never Nancy group, and they have penned this letter that they're supposed to be releasing. They say they've gathered enough support to deny her the speakership. She needs 218 votes, and there are 17 of them that say they're going to oppose her, and they're trying to get more to oppose her as well.
Yeah, Ainsley, it's interesting, and this is that revolt that I'm talking about. This new generation, of course, which she has praised, of these far leftists that are actually her worst enemy. I mean, I've been saying it for years that Nancy Pelosi is, one of the most gobsmackingly corrupt of the Beltway swamp creatures, and anyone who is truly progressive would see that. I mean, she is one of the wealthiest members of Congress. And why is that? It's because of the perks of incumbency and power and the gavel that she has been able to wield when Democrats come back into power for the last 20, 25, 30 years. And I think they're finally seeing that. And maybe some of these progressive leftists actually want to walk the walk and the talk of their socialist policies and extreme policies, and hold the Democrat Party's feet to their fire on that. I'm just going to pop the popcorn and watch the Never Nancys and Nancy go at it.
Keep your eye on Clyburn. He could ascend to that position. That could be part of a deal. We'll see if that works. Meanwhile, Senator Jeff Flake, among the president's critics, he's coming out and saying, I will not pass a single judge unless the president agrees to, Mitch McConnell agrees to put legislation forward that will prevent the president from removing Robert Mueller. Nobody's talking about removing Robert Mueller. It's in the backstretch. Even Lindsey Graham came out last night and said, what is this even about? Here's Senator Jeff Flake on another issue, saying that pulling troops at the border is nothing but a stunt.
I think you can't call it anything but a stunt here. And it's unfortunate that they're going to be away from family during the holidays coming up, and we just don't know what really for. We don't know where the caravan, if it makes it north, is going to come. I think it could be handled by civilians that we have there in terms of Border Patrol and others. So I don't know what I could tell them other than we shouldn't be doing this.
Stunt.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to political stunts, Jeff Flake is really the poor man's Evel Knievel, okay? And this is somebody who has been an open borders tool for so long that he has lost touch not only with Arizona voters, but the rest of America. It really is the paramount duty of the federal government to protect our borders.
Well, let's see what happens. All right, Michelle Malkin? Look at that. We had lots to talk about today. Thank you very much.
Yes, we did.
Thanks, Michelle.
You bet.
All right, let's hand it over to Jillian, who has some more headlines for us. Hey, Jillian.
That's right. Good morning. There's always so much to talk about, including this story that we're following. Michael Avenatti, the attorney for Stormy Daniels, denying domestic violence allegations.
A woman, I never will strike a woman. I am looking forward to a full investigation, at which point I am confident that I will be fully exonerated.
Avenatti posted bail last night. He was arrested after an alleged confrontation at his Los Angeles apartment with an unidentified woman. Newly elected Senator Kyrsten Sinema already under fire. The Arizona Democrat slammed over her support for party leader Chuck Schumer. In June, Sinema vowed not to vote for Schumer, but he was just elected as majority leader without objection. It comes just a day after Sinema was photographed alongside Schumer on Capitol Hill. Well, this gives new meaning to Hair of the Dog. A sneaky pup is caught helping itself to its owner's pint of beer. Someone snapping the hilarious pictures in Ireland, of course, saying the dog even checked that the coast was clear before taking another swig.
That is so cute.
So this is actually hilarious. Many years ago, my dog accidentally got into a drink when we were having a party at my house, and he was like literally...
drank a whole drink?
Like he drank the whole drink, and he was like
staggering. Yeah, because they don't have tolerance for
I know.
You must have drank a lot, because if you're on all four legs and you're still
Staggering.
Yeah.
That says a lot. All right, thanks, Jillian.
It would take your dogs alive.
Because there's a nor'easter coming. It's already snowing in D.C.
Zip in the lining.
I mean, we have beautiful pictures from D.C. right now, and you guys are all from Florida.
Yes.
Are you excited for the snow?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, you are.
We like snow.
I love your hat.
Thank you. I feel like a mad Russian, but it feels good.
I love it. Okay, so you're going to stick around for this forecast with me, okay? Let's take a look at this nor'easter. You guys too, okay? Here it is. Here it's happening across portions of the Ohio Valley, parts of the Mid-Atlantic. The unfortunate part here is that we have an ice storm that's unfolding across portions of Indiana and Ohio. See that pink stuff there? That is not good news. Ice on the roadways, on the power lines, and that's going to be treacherous for driving. Interior sections are where we're going to see the jackpot of snow. Yes, this is early for this kind of snow. In some cases, we could see over a foot interior sections of Pennsylvania and New York. Along the coast, it'll start off in some cases as snow, and then it will turn into a rain event. In any case, it's going to be a messy next 12 to 24 hours across the Northeast. Rest of the country looks pretty good. You want to say hi to anybody at home?
Yes, hi to my husband, George.
Oh, hi, George.
My daughters, Holly, Julia, Tara, Valerie.
Just my friends at McDonald's.
Okay, all right. Friends at McDonald's, fantastic. Can they bring us some food?
Yeah.
I hope so. Back inside, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian.
Oh. Tell them, hey, so cute.
Well, they're all from Florida, and the three of us are actually going to go to Florida this weekend because the weather's going to be lousy.
Different places.
That's right. Mrs. Ducey and I are going down to Florida to sign copies of the Happy
Where are you gonna be?
Cookbook. I'm glad you asked. Tomorrow night, Friday at 7 p.m., we're going to be at Books A Million in Orange Park Mall in Orange Park, Florida. Brian's been there a number of times.
It's huge.
Then on Saturday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Barnes & Noble at Colonial Plaza Mall in Orlando.
Been there too. It's great.
And Sunday, we're going to be at the Barnes & Noble in Palm Beach Gardens at 1 o'clock. If you're not in Florida, you can get your copy of the Happy Cookbook at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, wherever you buy your books.
This is why books are great, because you have to show people, especially in the office, that you put effort in, and you give them a signed book that shows you waited online for them. That's saying something. You're special to me.
Well, what a great Christmas present. Everyone loves cookbooks because, well, if you're like me, I have to look at a cookbook and a recipe. I'm not a great chef like my mom is, but what I love about your cookbook, it highlights your family and all the pictures and has pictures of what the dish is supposed to look like.
That's right. And it's got your mother's dishes that are your pride and joy. Anyway.
Congratulations.
We'll all be down in Florida this weekend.
Right. Meanwhile, coming up straight ahead, 17 minutes before the top.
In those raging California wildfires, is there any relief in sight? Please say there is. We're live on the ground coming up next.
Plus, the left wants Medicare for all. Is that really a good idea? Dr. Nicole Sapphire's diagnosis straight ahead.
We should understand everyone, all, should receive the health care they need.
I campaigned on hard commitments of Medicare for all.
We're back with the Fox News Alert, and get this. Now 59 people confirmed dead as wildfires continue to burn across California.
The Sierra Fire scorching nearly 150 acres east of Los Angeles.
Jeff Paul is live in Malibu, California, where some evacuated residents are returning home to nothing left, Jeff.
Yeah, that's right. And there is some relief this morning as some of those wind warnings begin to die down here in Southern California. But the damages from these fires like the Woolsey fire here remain far and wide, and further north from the Camp Fire, those damages might be even worse. The Camp Fire now has burned more than 140,000 acres, and a fire just north of Sacramento. The death toll now rising to 56, and it could rise even higher with more than 100 people still unaccounted for. The devastation there is so bad they're bringing in DNA labs to help identify victims. Now, Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zinke toured some of the damages with Governor Jerry Brown and says it is some of the worst fire damage he has ever seen.
As a combat veteran of Iraq, unfortunately, it was very much like a city that's been hit by cluster bombs and bombed out over a period of time. I mean, complete devastation, I think, in Paradise alone.
Now, further south, the Woolsey fire in Ventura and in Los Angeles County likely claiming its third victim, according to authorities. They are investigating that. The fire has burned close to or more than 100,000 acres of land, but fortunately is now more than 50% contained. Now, they are starting to allow some people to return back to certain spots in Ventura and in Los Angeles County, but other spots they're not allowing people to return until they can get some of those services restored and make it safe when they do so. Back to you guys in the studio.
And in many cases, there's nothing left to go home to. All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Live from Malibu.
Well, it's a key part of the left's new platform.
We should understand everyone, all, should receive the health care they need.
I campaigned on hard commitments of Medicare for all.
But is it really a good idea? Dr. Nicole Saphier on that, coming up next.
Everyone, all, should receive the health care they need.
I campaigned on hard commitments of Medicare for all.
To end the international disgrace of the United States, our great nation, being the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all of our people.
There is, as you've just seen, a growing push to have Medicare for all across the country. The progressive left pushing to expand the government-run program.
But our next guest says it's a bad idea.
Joining us now, Fox News' medical contributor, Dr. Nicole Saphier. Dr. Saphier, you understand the sentiment. People want to get access, but is this the right way?
Well, access is not health insurance. It's a completely different concept. And healthcare was very popular during the midterms, and it should be, because over the past decade, since the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, we've seen premiums go up 140%, 200% for some families, as well as deductibles just doubling. And people, it's unaffordable. And now you also have physicians leaving the Affordable Care Act, so these networks are becoming even more restrictive. And so what's going to happen? They're talking about Medicare for all, and everyone keeps saying, well, we don't actually know how we're going to fund it, but we just want to do it. And all of the analyses have said about $33 trillion over the next 10 decades. And doubling income tax, corporate tax, that won't even be enough. So where are we going to get these funds?
Right.
Are we going to be taking away from FEMA, immigration, border control? I don't know. It's going to have to come from somewhere.
Sure, but Dr. Saphier, if you're an American and you don't have health care coverage and you don't have anything, and you're looking to the federal government to help you out, you don't care what the price is. You just want to be healthy.
And you know what? I agree that everyone should have access to quality health care. I firmly believe that. And I think in a mixed private and public system, we can do that. That is how we have thrived. You have to rein in health care costs. If you implement this single payer, you're going to immediately 80% of hospitals are going to become negative. They're not going to be profitable, and you're going to see them closing. Doctors are going to continue to pull out, and that's going to affect our health care. So the health care that people have right now is going to get worse, because we know what happens. We've seen it in England. We've seen it in Canada, where we have over 4 million people in England on wait lists just to get treatments or to see specialists. It's an average of 10 weeks to see a specialist in Canada, and in the United States, it's 3 weeks.
That's why they come here.
That's why they come here. We have the best cancer care, stroke, heart attack, diabetes, because people can get the treatment they want here. But what we have to do is we need to make sure that people continue to have access to this. Right. Then those that can't afford health care, that they are able to have direct access to primary care and have a robust Medicaid program.
Who does Medicare benefit the most?
Medicare benefits our elderly population, but Medicare also is incorporated with our private insurance market. It is not 100% government run. That's why our seniors love Medicare, because they also have the private plans as well.
Some of them get supplements on top of that, right?
Absolutely. So Medicare doesn't cover everything. Some prescription drugs, some long-term care facilities, they require Medicaid for that. And Medicaid is our government-run program.
For the poor.
For those that can't afford health care, yes, or the disabled.
Well, the last time the government got involved, we wound up with the Affordable Care Act. My daughter's got Obamacare, and she can't afford to use it. It's expensive, and she can't find a doctor anywhere.
Well, that was the weak attempt at socialized medicine, and it's not working. And we do need to rein in healthcare costs. Absolutely. We're on a non-sustainable path right now, but this is not the way to do it. Absolutely not.
Joe Manchin was on yesterday saying, why doesn't Trump go in there and make it do a Trump care fix? Is Obamacare something that could be fixed?
Healthcare can be fixed. I'm not going to say the Affordable Care Act can be fixed, because once you start taking all the things about it, it's no longer the Affordable Care Act. So we got to get out of limiting ourselves or putting ourselves in these boxes. Let's just fix healthcare. And there's lots of ways to do it.
If you join the military, my dad was in the military for 20 years, and TRICARE helped my mother so much. She has diabetes and she had a stroke, and it's been wonderful.
TRICARE is a great program. The Veterans Health System in itself has its own flaws that also need to be remedied a bit.
Well, let's see what the new Congress does.
Absolutely.
Dr. Saphier, thanks for making a couch call.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, straight ahead. The media going after First Lady Melania Trump for clashing with a White House staffer, but she's not the only First Lady to